Hello subscribers and YouTube watchers, what's up? This is Vives from Slide Nerd over here. In this video, I'm going to show you guys how you can customize and edit text in Android to determine what the user can enter and what he cannot enter. Now this is simply, in other words, validation, if you guys have heard about this word from a web development background. So we are going to perform validation over here. There are two types of validation in Android. One is static validation and the other is dynamic validation. So in this video I'm going to show you guys how to perform static validation using these attributes that you see on the screen. Think about this. You ask your user to enter something like, hey, enter your age. The user is expected to enter something like 23, but instead he enters ABC. Do you think that is acceptable? No. And that is why you want to restrict what the user can enter and how big his text can be. And this is achieved through certain attributes inside your edit text. So let's actually go ahead and see what are those XML attributes, what do they do, what kind of values do they support, and how we can use them in our app to provide a better user experience. So here what I have is Android min lines. This is the first attribute that I want to talk about. Nothing great about this, it simply makes the edit text that many lines tall as the value you specify. Now I'm gonna show you in Android Studio how this attribute works, but for now remember this: if you say Android min lines equals to 3, your edit text is going to be 3 lines tall. Then we have the other attribute, which is Android max lines. Now this controls how many lines inside your edit text you want to display at a given time to the user. For example, you may have an edit text where the user enters huge paragraphs and paragraphs of information, but say you want to display only 5 lines at a time, and that is controlled using this attribute called Android max lines. Android hint. Now this displays a hint in light gray colored text about what the user should enter in that edit text. Now this is very important from usability perspective. Now I'm gonna show you guys how these attributes work when we jump into Android Studio and actually show you a simple demo of using these attributes. Now this is the most important attribute that we are going to discuss here. It's called Android input type. Now this allows you to perform validation by restricting what the user can enter. For example, let's say you ask the user, hey, enter your age, and he has to say something like 23 or 29. But what if he goes and types ABC? The best idea is to actually avoid the user from entering the keys A, B and C themselves, and this can be achieved by controlling the keypad. That is, you display only numbers in the keypad when you ask the user to enter his age, and that way he will never enter an alphabet, right? And that is what this Android input type does. Now don't worry if you guys are not so clear about what the input type is. I'm gonna jump into Android Studio and actually show you how you can use this input type to customize and restrict what the user can enter. And then you have this attribute, which is Android max length. Again, this is a very important attribute. It controls the maximum number of characters the user can enter. For example, you can have an authentication based app where you're simply having a username and password, and you want to make sure that the user only enters 10 characters for the password. There you can use this max length and give a positive integer as the value. For example, say 10, and that way the user can not enter anything more than that, right? So let's actually jump into Android Studio and see some of these attributes in action. Alright, so here I'm using Android Studio. I have this project called EditText test. I have my main activity.java, which is my Java code for the app, and I have my activity underscore main.xml, which is where I define my user interface, right? So here I have my edit text which I have created. Let's use some of these attributes and see how they work. First of all, I'm gonna say min lines equals to say 2. Take a look over here, things have stretched. If I change the value, say something like 5, take a look what happens. The edit text starts taking 5 lines now. This is what your min lines does. Now let me use the max lines attribute over here. I'm gonna say max lines equals to say 2. So that means no matter how much text the user enters, he's gonna see only 2 lines at a given time. So let's actually run this and let me show you this attribute in action. I'm gonna click run here at the top. Alright, so here my emulator is up and running. Let me just enter some dummy sentence over here that fills up 2 lines to show you guys exactly what happens when the max length is exceeded. Alright, so I've almost filled up 2 lines. Let me just show you what happens when I go and enter more text over here. As you guys can see now, as I enter more text, my upper text disappears and I just see these 2 lines at the bottom, right? And this is what your max lines does. So you guys are clear about this attribute now. let me move to input type and show you guys how input type works. I'm gonna show you one of the input types, and then I'm gonna show you the remaining input types on the presentation. So let me actually say text cap sentences over here. Control S, run this. Input type allows you to customize the input that you have. So we are gonna see how that can be done here. Alright, so let me actually write a simple sentence by saying this. As you guys notice something, the the T is actually capitalized automatically because I use the input type equals to text cap sentences, which means every time I put a full stop and I start to type a new word, the first letter is automatically capitalized, and that's what your input type equals to text cap sentences does. So now you guys can see how your input is customized without you having to validate anything. If this was JavaScript or some other web development technology, you probably will have to write code to do the same thing. Now take a look over here. I've simply said this and put a full stop. Now when I say A, it's automatically capitalized, and I can say a nice day over here. So now that's normal, right? And this is how your text cap sentences work. So let me actually go back to the presentation and show you some famous input types that we have, so you guys are clear about this. Alright, so one of the most popular input types that you have is the input type equals to number, that allows you to enter only a positive number inside. Now if you want to enter a negative number, there's probably a number signed, something like that. You can check it out on your Android Studio. The other one is the input type equals to date, where you guys can enter only dates inside, and this is going to restrict anything else. As you guys can see in the keypad down here, there is no ABC. That's what your input types allow you to modify the keypad in some way or the other. Same way, you have input type equals to date time. Now I want to see how good of an observer you guys really are. There is a very small difference between the input type equals to date and the input type equals to date time as far as the keypad is concerned. Now let me actually figure out how many guys find this and comment it, and let me know what difference you found between the keypads in both the cases. Then you have the text cap words. You can use this input type when you're asking the user to enter a person's name. It will automatically capitalize the first letter of every word. As you guys can see over here, my name is capitalized in the first place, and when I go to enter S, that also gets automatically capitalized. Same way, you have your input type equals to text password, that allows you to enter a password. The text that you're entering is visible for a very short duration of time, and then it becomes into an asterisk, as you guys can see over here. Same way, you have a text URI. Now the only benefit of asking the user to enter URIs is you can have this .com button over here that will simplify the user when he's about to suggest some link inside your app. So that's it with input types. As far as the variety is concerned, there is a lot of input types available. You guys can go ahead, experiment with them, and let me know if you find something odd about it. If you like what you saw, please subscribe to my channel, comment, let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear from you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next vid. Have a nice day.